Because you wanted to do something else.
You should definitely watch it. It's really intrusive.
Yeah.
This repulsive creature played as though guided by a greater power.
Whenever I looked into the real history, I felt we were doing Salieri a massive disservice, so I stopped and stuck with the sort of with the fiction of it, and yes, the play. The fact that Salieri has become a sort of iconic villain, and we all know Salieri's, and I just kind of played in that area, I think.
And for me, it was, I guess, in some ways, a bit like approaching any other role, where it started with what's on the page, like who is he on the page, what's a way into this character that I can find, and then I did do some research about, you know, the real man, but I felt like anything that I found there was sort of like to be taken or left, because if it was helpful to the performance or to the show, I could use it sometimes in quite an oblique way. Like I've read, for example, that there are some theories that actually it was Mozart who had the paranoia that Salieri was out to get him, and other people around him, you know, towards the end of his life when he was quite poorly, and other people around him were like, I don't think that's something you need to worry about. So, you know, little things like that were sometimes helpful. The big thing for me was his music was very helpful, like to get a sense of, because that came from the real man and is a big part of this story and, you know, and our show. And so, like, you know, just the like sheer breadth of tone and sort of trying to find the way to marry all those different aspects of him into one person, I guess.
For me, it was, I guess everything online was pretty kind of basic stuff about Constanza. So I read, I'm pretty sure I'm saying this, I'm sure it was a diary, which had brilliant stuff about her, where she came from, and being a woman in that time, and being married to a genius, and then the aftermath of it all, and how she carried on the music. And so that was my thing, really.
Are you musical? What kind of preparation did you have to do to be Mozart?
No, not really that musical. Like, I could play the piano in a sort of chordsy, you know, school band way, but I had to learn. I spent about 6 months, I think, preparing some of the pieces, and then immediately forgot them as soon as like we shot them. And we also like worked on the conducting with Ben quite a bit. So.
Amazing. Are you guys musical at all? Beautiful voice.
Yes.
Yeah, which is Paul's voice in the show. You wish. No, not my voice. I'm not a singer, so I'm just trained how to learn to breathe, and yeah, and I mean, I used to play the harp when I was younger, but nothing extravagant, no.
Because we see what you are, what you could be.
You've heard it, haven't you? My God, the boy can write.
It's quite good.
Quite good. He had written a masterpiece.
I'm interested to hear how you guys would describe the tone of the show, because it's quite unique, and there's also a massive shift between episode 1 and episode 2. It suddenly gets darker. If you were going to describe it to somebody, what words would you use?
I think after watching it yesterday, I think it's really quite intrusive. And it's...
Because you wanted to do something else.
You should definitely watch it. It's really intrusive.
Yeah.
No, but as
I was minding my own business.
What do you mean?
It's just in your face. It's a lot.
Right,
it's like
right.
it's in a good way. It's like it's kind of unapologetic, really.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your. I'm going to stop talking. Do you want to
No,
talk?
I thought I know exactly what you mean, actually, and I think there's also a sort of a modernity to it that I think makes it feel accessible, and the language accessible to an audience that might normally say, "Oh, this sort of thing isn't for me. It's going to make me feel stupid." It does not do that. I think it's very
intrusive.
Intrusive.
Can I ask you about the language specifically? What do you think is the purpose of having that more modern language come through?
Well, I guess the whole show kind of like plays around with period, and in the English in the show has modern, aspects to it, but also some more period-sounding English, and same with like Vicky Lang's hair and makeup design. Like, she sort of obviously drew heavily from period-accurate looks, but was always like weaving in subtly kind of rock and roll influences, jazz influences to sort of give it this slightly hybrid feeling. And even in a style of conducting, where if we were being strictly accurate, it would have been very metronomic and formal. But together with Ben Holder, who oversaw the music, we sort of tried to find a language that had some of the expressiveness of modern conducting, but without being completely, freeform.